Hey guys, how's it going? This is Alberto with A to Z Tactical Academy, and in this video, I want to address safe reholstering, particularly because some of you have forwarded me a video of allegedly a SIG P320 that goes off in the holster. Here's the video. All right, so in this video, you can clearly see that after the course of fire, that shooter basically, and I have a blue gun in a holster here, that shooter, what they do is they basically point the gun at their body, looking for the opening of the holster with the muzzle of the gun, right? They come out like this, they search for the opening, and they just put it in, and the gun happens to go off. Thank goodness it didn't go off when they were looking for the holster, but that is an extremely bad idea. What you should do instead to be safe is when you're going to reholster after the course of fire, make sure that as you come down, you don't flag your hand, right? You're going to let go of that firing grip. Don't leave it floating here because you're going to flag your hand. Make sure your trigger finger is not on the trigger. So high and on the frame, somewhere that you can index it. A feature of the gun is usually what I say. And then you come down to look where your holster is. You should look. There is no rush into putting the gun as quickly as you draw it out, right? When you're going to reholster, which is usually when accidents happen, there is no rush, right? You did what you needed to do with your gun, whether it's shooting cans, shooting target, finishing your station competition, or doing something to defend yourself. It's over, right? So holstering should be a slow, very meticulous process where you do not end up shooting yourself or others, right? So anyway, don't flag yourself, finger off the trigger, come down without flagging your feet or your hands. Look, gather any pieces of clothing on it. And then as you get into the holster, let me grab the holster again. Don't look for the opening of the holster with the muzzle of the gun. What you should do instead is touch the outside like this. Go here. And then go up until the gun goes into this step, and then put it in straight in. In the case of striker fire guns, like a Glock, like a CZP-10, like a VPL, any of those things, right? If your gun has a safety, activate it. If your gun has a decocker, decock the gun. If your gun has a striker control device, which I highly recommend, right? So there is Langdon Tactical makes a striker control device for Glocks, and Danforth Designs makes a striker control device for a CZP-10. I highly recommend you get one in your Glock or CZP-10. But what it does is that by putting your thumb on the back plate of the Glock, you prevent the movement of the trigger rearward, even if your finger is there, even if some debris falls in the holster. I have here my H&K P30, which has a LEM trigger. This gun is clear, right? I previously checked it. So in a LEM trigger, when I thumb the hammer, you cannot move the trigger, right? It prevents the rearward movement of the trigger, right? This is the style of a LEM trigger. So if I thumb it, it prevents the rearward movement of the trigger. In a Glock with an SCD device installed, the same thing happens. You put the thumb in the back plate, you cannot move the trigger back. I have here a ZZ Rami, which is just a hammered fire gun with a safety, doesn't have a decocker, right? So again, gun is clear. I've already checked it, but you see it's all clear. So let me close it. All right, so hammer's in the back position. This gun has a safety only on one side, right? So activating the safety, the trigger doesn't work. But deactivating the safety, obviously it would fire. So if I'm going to reholster this gun, what I would do is I would move my thumb to be placed in between the hammer and the frame of the gun, sort of like this. That way, even if I press the trigger inadvertently, the worst thing that can happen is my finger is now pinched between the hammer and the frame of the gun, right? So that way I can either point it in a safe direction and let go, or leave it in the half cock position, which is typically where it will end up at, or use another hand to kind of just bring the hammer back up, right? So if I was done with this course of fire in this particular gun, and I didn't activate the safety, which would be fault number one, I would definitely put my thumb this way across the hammer and the frame. So as I holster, if something was to happen, my gun will only end up in the half cock position. Be safe, keep training. Always be thoughtful of where the muzzle is pointing, and do as much as you can to prevent an accidental discharge of your gun. I appreciate your support. Please like, subscribe, and drop me a comment. Until next time.